2 virtual, 1 not able to attend, so that's 3, 4, 5, 6,
There we go. I got it.
7, Andrews and John, so yeah, this is good for tonight.
Do we get to log into the Google Meet then?
Well, yeah, it might not be, I can, if there's information to send them, that might be good because Doug and Carrie, were saying they were watching the audio from last week.
Yeah, it wasn't good.
So if we want to send them, a Google Meet, I can do that. If somebody sends me something to send them. Do you have Google Meet info, or is it on?
Let's see. I do not have a Google Meet info. Oh, wait, it was
I can do it.
yesterday.
Yeah.
It should be requested to my admin. I sent you an email originally.
Go ahead, let's get started.
Yeah, we'll work that in the
We'll add,
background.
okay, all right, we're live. Good evening and welcome to the November 12th joint session between the school board and the budget committee. I would like to call the meeting to order and start with the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, as a reminder, this is our second night of going through the superintendent's proposed budget. As a reminder, and I'm going to repeat what Andrew said on the first night of our budget, school board has not had a chance to make any motions, make any amendments to this budget, so at this point it truly is the proposed budget from the superintendent. And he is presenting it to us, and his team are presenting it to us. I don't think we need to do introductions this time because I think we've got pretty much the same group that was here last time, with the exception of Chairman Sun, who is here. And so I'm going to turn it over to you, Superintendent. You can get started.
I think I just shared out the Google Meet with all of the budget committee. I don't know if you got it. I'm sure some. So that if they don't have good audio right now, they should be able to hop onto that. Someone just needs to open it, not me, because I'm going to present. Anyone else?
I was gonna say, if you want, I can just put it on the room.
If you can put it on the room, that's great.
Yeah.
I just don't want to open it on this one for the kickback since we're going to present off of this one. Okay. So we'll
You have the meeting code handy?
give me a sec.
Yep.
We are working through technical difficulties.
That's all good. All right, ready?
Yep.
XET dash GXNV
M,
NV
got it?
dash NHJ.
And then someone just has to let in the fire department.
Okay. This might still have to be me for that. Hold on.
How many times do we go? Hey,
I'm sorry?
how many times do we go out?
Just for 1 week. Took a week's vacation.
Yeah.
I got one on the third day.
Wow.
And I got one again yesterday.
So
8
that's
days
on.
apart.
Yep.
Should be good.
I got one more tag.
Alright, so if any budget committee members join us, they're good to go.
I just sent it to a couple that I know are watching.
My speaker that should do it. If there's kickback, just let me know. Alright.
I'm here.
Sounds good.
I hear.
From that?
Yeah. So we just gotta turn the volume off on this, right?
Or turn off your mic.
Yeah. Good. Now it should be.
Beautiful.
Look at my tech. Hug back in. Hopefully that shows up on that screen right there momentarily. Yeah, look at that. Took us 5 minutes, okay.
We just don't.
Alright, we're good to go.
Alright, thank you again everyone for joining us tonight as we go over the second part of our proposed budget at this point. This presentation has been shared with both the budget committee and the school board, and it's in
You're
the...
now
We can hear from here.
I think the
There we go.
TVs need to be, yeah, the volume of the
Muted.
TVs need to be.
We got it, we got it.
Got it?
It's down, yeah.
Alright, we good?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
much better.
Thank you.
So this presentation is shared in the budget folder for everyone to view. And on this first slide right here for this evening's off of the 12th is the 2 question forms, one for the school board and one for the budget committee. So if you have any questions that come up throughout this process, you had some questions for us last time, but we can comment on those later, or the respective department heads will do so when we get to them. Please let us know. We'll research whatever we can and get that information back to you. School board 1, budget committee 1, right there. If there's any issues, let us know. And with that, I'm gonna turn things over to Director Lorna Crowley for dining services.
All right. So, should be a pretty quick dining services presentation tonight, which is exciting. So overall, we had a decrease in the budget by about $2,100, and that was based on a couple of things. One was the FY25 actuals, and the Campbell High School vending machine that we got. The lease will be paid off, and we will own it as of this year. So those are 2 pretty big decreases. You'll notice throughout the budget, certain lines have been increased, and that's also due, so we had a pretty significant underspend at Campbell High in the food line. And what I did was I reappropriated some of those funds to different lines of items we need, and then cut the rest. So the increases are going to be a one-time expense. We need new registers and pin pads for each school. And we're getting a credit card machine for the high school. So that's all in the equipment lines. We started with 8 registers in total about 5-6 years ago, and we're down to 4. 3 of them have broken and 1 caught on fire last year, so we kind of need to replace those. We're kind of getting through with duct tape and 2x4s and Chromebooks. It's super fun. So that's one of the big expenses that we reappropriated those funds. And then the other one, and I'm putting this back in, I did put it in last year, it was approved, but because of the default budget, it didn't get added, so I'm putting it back in, is another increase in membership for my School Nutrition Association membership and the district's New Hampshire Buying Group fee for membership. And that's all I have. Other than that, everything has been the same. We did cut minor, about $500 out of each supply line at Griffin and at middle school, and then Campbell, like I said, we reappropriated those funds, and then I cut the rest. Any questions?
All right, we'll open it up to questions for tonight. Questions for Lauren?
I can get it started.
No questions, really? Come on, we're gonna let her off with no questions?
We'll save them for tomorrow.
Okay.
Coffee is for sale.
I don't know if you've heard.
I was gonna leave
Matt
it
has
alone.
opinions.
Rumor has it, the iced coffee's going very well. I don't know what it is right now, but we were up over 300 as of this meeting last week.
It's Matt.
So, if only 150 of them are Matt, the rest are Holly and Julie. Sometimes the kids buy them, no, but
Supporting
that's,
the food service.
I will
I've
say.
only bought 2.
He's only bought 2, to be fair. I will say, with the addition of coffees and a la carte sales, we are up in sales about $9,100 over this time last year, by adding in a lot of what we are. And we're up in lunches, we're up in breakfasts, so far everything's going very, very well.
Good. All right, last chance for any questions? Hearing none, we can, thank you.
You're welcome.
Presentation. We'll move into the next one.
Alright, buildings and grounds. Some of the major drivers, for this area is, property and liability insurance has increased, 19.8%, which is a huge increase for us. We had participated in a CAP program through, Primex previously that was actually will be phased out at the end of this year, FY26. And that capped us at a 9% increase. So one of the things that we are doing to try to offset some of that increase, even if it's small, is there's another program that we're gonna get certified through Primex so that we can have another 2.5% discount off of our property liability and our workers' compensation. So we budgeted with that reduction. With regard to other increases, overall increases across the board in repairs and maintenance, We've just had a lot of things that we've had to take care of over this last year and also even just the beginning of this school year. So we are making sure that our repair and maintenance lines are staying fairly robust based on actuals and also taking into consideration what we've spent this year. Some of the other items that we have included is we've created a district-wide capital improvement plan that's based on the on-site insight reports that we had when we had the buildings assessments done last year. And as a part of that, we've identified in year one, which is FY '27 for this, any items that we would see that would be used with budget money. So certain things we've identified, hopefully using impact fees for versus perhaps end-of-year funds, but there were a handful of projects that we identified in the budget, so we have included those. Other items of note, we have, last year we had a floor stripping machine that we purchased for one of the schools, and the plan was for that to be a 3-year project so that each school gets a new one. So this is year 2 of that cycle, so you will see that in the GMS line. Also, one of the things that we've done is Ann and Dave and I have all worked really hard to try to realign some of the functions and accounts in the building and grounds lines to just more accurately reflect our spending and to kind of keep more like things together, like all of our inspections are under one account now, and then all of our repairs that are a part of inspections are also separated out. One of the things Ann and I are working on is getting everyone a breakdown of how you can look at those comparisons because we've moved some of those things around in the budget, again, to accurately reflect our spending, but just so you can see that breakdown. So we'll have that for you, I'm hoping tomorrow evening, but I'll certainly have plenty of information if you need any specifics. Other increases that we have is waste management. We were initially given a 25% increase. We were able to negotiate down to an 8%. Still quite a spike, but not nearly as bad as we initially thought it was going to be. And HVAC costs, again, across the board, we're seeing increases, whether it's preventative maintenance or repairs. So those are just increases that continue to climb. One new fee that we've had to include this year is we have an alarm monitoring fee now through Hudson Fire Department. We were informed earlier this year that that would start at the beginning of 26, so in January we'll actually get a bill for that we obviously had not budgeted for, but we've included that ongoing in the budget. Our snowplow contract, we are in year 3 of a 3-year contract. Year 2, you won't see the increase because of course we were in the default budget. In the proposed budget, we had that increase. It's a flat increase from this current year, but again, because of the default, you will see more of an increase there. And the other, we have including regular fees. So the other thing we were trying to do is kind of clean up some of our budget lines and making sure that we're accurately reflecting our spending. So there were some things that we were noticing were ongoing fees that we're paying every year, but we weren't budgeting for them. So just making sure that those are in there, just again, to more accurately reflect our needs and our spending. That was it. Actually, questions for building and grounds?
Any questions?
For waste management, are we currently in a contract with anybody?
We are.
Is it a multi-year contract?
Yes, and actually, I need to check. I need to check that. That's a year to year. That's a year to year. We're not doing a multiple year on that. But that's something we could look into, certainly.
Yeah, that's a thought at least.
Absolutely.
And for the HVAC cost, are we seeing the increased maintenance and repairs at all 3 schools kind of spread evenly, or is it?
I think it's mostly GMS and the high school. Not so much the middle school.
I had to ask the question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
So it's looking like for building services,
I will say that I need to go in still, some of the utility lines I need to tweak a little bit. I'm waiting on a couple of rates, so those numbers will change a bit. And I'll let everyone know when those change, so we update those in the folder.
Any other questions?
The floor stripper machines, was that removed out of the budget last year with default?
It was, and then it was purchased with end-of-year funds.
Okay,
So we only got one machine out of the three, so the high school currently holds that one.
okay.
Eventually we want one machine per building, so we
Right,
don't have
yeah,
to
I
share
remember
it.
that. Last year
That-
was the first year it got pulled out, used end of year funds.
Correct. And just for the record, it worked out quite well at the high school. It's not an actual wet stripper, it's an actual dry stripper, so it worked really well. Less chemicals and just went real
Less
quick.
supplies.
Did a nice job, less supplies.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I just have one question, I'll have a bunch,
Yeah.
but one now. I know we're on year 3.
Mhm.
Now I have it here. Of the turf tank robot,
No, we're on our second year.
what is this?
Next year will be the third, yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, are you intending to renew that contract?
Yes,
So, it's worked out well.
it has.
Would there be discussion with the budget committee before you renew it?
Sure.
What line item is that, Brian?
442, and that's under ground services district-wide.
Yep.
I've asked, like, since year 1 for numbers as far as what the savings are between man labor and paint and hours, and I haven't seen them yet. And I keep looking at $17,000, and I know it does a lot. but
It
that's a
does,
lot.
it does a great job, and it's equivalent to one person full-time, so.
But there has to be a person with it all the time.
No, you set it and forget it. It goes on its own. We'll try and track down some numbers for you.
Yeah,
I don't
thought-
think we
I
could
thought
do it
we
out
was-
at this point.
Yeah, I'll take a look. I thought I had shared out the supplies anyway. paint.
Supplies, yeah,
But I'll certainly.
very
we can-
conservative.
But we can get an estimate
Yep.
on man hours.
Yep.
You would have had supplies anyway, so it's.
So what would
it's more
take
the
me,
man-
what would take me 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours to stripe a football field, this thing does it in an hour and a half. It's insane, and it uses so much less product. And they pay for the paint up front. Not all the paint district-wide, but it just pays for, 10 5-gallon buckets, free, comes with it,
Every year.
every year, yep. Yep. It's a huge savings.
That's included in the 17K.
Yes.
Yep.
I think there's a $3,000 allowance for paint, right?
Correct.
Annually.
And it uses so much less. We mix half with water, so 5 gallons of paint gets us 10. It's 50-50 mix.
Other questions? Not hearing any, all right, so we will move on to the next.
All right, in the business office, we do have, an every other year expense, it's a requirement, of our audit, it's an extension of the audit, it's called the GASB 75. It's an actuarial report that we need to complete, so you did not see that in the budget for FY '26, but it is back for FY '27. And it is a fairly hefty increase of, I think it's 4,300, I wanna say. But that is a requirement of our auditing process. Our accounting software, we're anticipating an 8% increase, and again, that's just from previous years. It's been a pretty steady increase, across years, so we are expecting to see that again. We also, had our financial audit service, we're expecting an increase for that, so we, budgeted for that as well. You'll see some increases to conference, and education lines, dues for myself, as it is really critical in my role to go to a lot of these professional development, events. Lots of changes to laws and, things of that nature that, we wanna continue obviously to have that information to make sure that we're kept up to date. And again, more alignment of expenditures. We took a couple things from building and grounds lines that belong really in emergency management, such as the batteries for the emergency lights. So just again, trying to clean up some of the lines, have them be in the more accurate spot. And then with regard to transportation, of course, we're in year 3 of a 5-year contract, and there was a 6.5% increase. So we will see that there.
With, oh, go ahead. You go first.
You go first.
Alright. With respect to transportation, we had dropped a bus, was it last year?
We went from 9 to 8, yes,
We
last
went
year.
from 9 to 8. How are we doing with the buses?
It's tight.
It's tight.
It's very tight.
Especially these next couple weeks in between sports seasons. So it's middle high school. There's a couple that are really tight.
It's sometimes 3 kids to a seat for the middle school as we load them in to make sure there's room for high schoolers when they get over.
And I'm assuming that's allowed by law, otherwise.
That's allowed by law, but it's not physically possible for some of our adult-sized middle schoolers.
Sure.
For our 5th graders, it's one thing, but when you're looking at 8th graders, putting 3 to a seat is no bueno.
What about with like having to change the route to accommodate that? Has it impacted the timeliness of the buses or no?
We've had a slight impact to because we're the first school to arrive, so I would say many mornings, poor Jeff is standing outside on the sidewalk going, does anybody know where a bus is? There are 2 or 3 buses that are consistently coming in after our 7:15 first bell.
I do think it's tough. We've worked with First. They've been good partners, trying to get bus routes appropriate, you know. But it's, you know, when we go through it every fall, they're like, well, we can shift this neighborhood to this bus, but then that bus becomes overcrowded, right? So, you know, there's 2 buses in particular, maybe 3, 2 buses that are like, I hope we could fit anything more on them, but it's tight. We can make it work. So.
The 7% increase that you had put in there for audit services, did that come from them? Is that what we're?
I was just, I did not get a quote from them, I was just looking at previous.
Previous years, okay. John David, did you have a question? I think you were
I
not.
did.
Or- yeah.
But I'm gonna ask a follow-up on the transportation and my other question. So, if my math is correct, going down from 9 to 8 buses should have saved us $90,000 to $100,000. But that's a trend that's going up. Is that, and that's because of the new contract we have with First Student? So can we get a copy of that contract? Is it in the folder?
It's not in the folder, I don't think, but I can get that for you.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
And then my other question was back on business office. Dues and fees so I noticed under the SAU there's a NHSAA membership. Do they still offer like the package where that's cheaper?
Yeah, we have 2 season passes for the district, so there's one under my budget line and then one under the superintendent's, and then all of us in the district office share those.
Okay, so those 2 line items provide access for more than just the 2 of you.
Correct.
Got it. That's what I was trying to get at. Thanks.
Any more questions? Hearing none, I think the SAU.
This is me, increased by $98.
So you'll be cutting a check.
Yeah, if you really need me to, I will write a check for the $98. No, it's just a little collection of little things. You know, our copier services went up a little bit, because we lease those out. We try to save a little bit on mileage and conferences and stuff. I'm not as big of a fan of conferences as others, so. And it all kind of meshed out to about a $98 increase overall, so. School board is the same thing. We had a slight increase to a couple related things. Specifically, increase in our membership fees for the School Board Association, and a little bit additional money in our conference and workshops for them as well, for new school board members. And that's it.
Questions on SAU budget? Move on to curriculum.
All right. So, last year when I came here, I noticed that the supply line for curriculum had gotten zeroed out. So I provide a lot of professional learning for our staff, like a lot. So I chart paper, markers, sticky notes, all those kinds of things. So I am asking for that supply line to kind of be reinstated. So that's why you'll see the $1,000 in the supplies. And then there was an increase in the software, and that's because we're trying to centralize things a little bit more instead of doing things like a third. If there's software shared across the district, it's centralized into one place. So that's why you'll see the increase there. It's taken out of the school's budgets and put into mine. So it's more centralized. And then if you look at it in terms of textbook and software now in the world of education is very much hand in hand. You can't really have one without the other. And I mean, I look at the way my workflow in my desk. I have computer, I have paper, I have pens, I have a whiteboard, I have sticky notes, I have, and that's how we teach in school. Students are online, they're offline, they're doing things in a lot of different ways. So really trying to look at balancing the textbook and software lines. The software lines are going to be a little bit heftier because ed tech software is pretty pricey and the increases go up, but it's all in benefit for that blended kind of learning for our students to get them to be future ready. And then there's decreases in the textbook lines. Last year, or FY25 budget, I should say, we were just entering into a 3-year contract for our new math program. So that was quite a hefty ticket item, so that kind of came down as we've gone on these last couple of years. And this new budget includes updated social studies textbooks for middle and high school. We have new requirements in our Ed 306 laws, and as we presented last year, our in one of our budget meeting, our school board meetings, our social studies textbooks had mold on them in the middle school. So we really, they're due for an upgrade, and it was their year to look at that anyway. So overall, curriculum is down by like $40,000, so not too bad. Any questions?
Curriculum's down, I'm sorry, I see a increase.
Yeah, I see a $20,000 increase. I was looking at the same thing.
In overall?
Yeah.
I'm looking, oh, it's up 20,000 from the default, but it's down from FY25
Got it.
budget.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Yeah, because the default didn't include some of the tech software that I took from the schools and that kind of stuff. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Questions for curriculum? Can you tell me a little bit about Kokori? Is that how I say it?
Yep, Kokori is the social emotional learning software that the middle school and elementary school, they started using it through ESSER funds, and then ESSER funds left us, and they were having success with the program, so we kind of reappropriated funds so we could keep that program going in momentum. So we wanted to continue it. This would be its third year in the district.
It ties directly in with responsive classroom, which we
Right.
spent a lot of money training our staff on.
Right. And then I'm gonna ask a question about iReady.
Yep.
When we first this is an observation slash question, when we first started using it, I think we really saw a huge benefit. I personally saw a huge benefit to it. It felt like the students were really paying attention and clicking with it. As I've had a now high school student, but then middle school student grow through it, she learned ways around it. And so I'm curious if we're still having the same or similar success rates with iReady. I just see the cost of the programs about 40,000, and so I'm curious from both principal perspectives as well as your perspective, is that worth the price tag that we're paying, and if so, why?
So iReady, I have mixed feelings about that, and I think I've talked to you guys about it when I present data, because it's normed and it doesn't talk apples to apples with standards, so it's a little bit harder to see proficiency in that way. But again, it's norm reference, so we can see how we're performing against other similar cohorts across the nation, so that's a positive piece of that too. The iReady diagnostic gives us informative data. The personalized pathways is where students start to get the workaround, right? They're like, oh, well, you know, and they
Well, if I
start.
get wrong, then it's easier the next time.
Correct.
So if I
Correct.
get about this
So-
many wrong, I don't have to make it go any harder.
There are conversations I want to have about what kind of diagnostic assessment we're using. Like, for example, because we got the ATSI grant, we are using Acadience for reading in the elementary school for K to 4. And the conversation is, do we want to do Acadience and iReady over assessment? You know, all of that kind of stuff. So we really need to have a conversation about what assessment we want to use for common assessments and diagnostic and progress monitoring and that kind of thing. Those conversations are a lot to have present a budget in, you know, have a budget ready in October. So that has been on my mind to have stakeholder group meetings. I have a lot of stakeholder group meetings. But we need to put something in the budget, and iReady, as far as the price tag, it's very similar in terms of cost for other programs that are out there. So it's not something that I would say, like, we need to decrease that line, because we are going to need, like I said, with ed tech software, it's pricey, but it's a matter of we need to look at what our needs are, what our wants are, and that takes a group of teachers, you know, a lot of people in the room to make that decision.
Is that other software, I'm not seeing it on there, the one that you just listed off that you switched to for reading?
Acadience came through an ATSI grant, so it did not cost the district any money out of our budget. It cost us money out of the ATSI grant, Title II and Title IV.
So is that grant in place for next year as well?
It will not be. Title II and Title IV, maybe. But again, that's why I want to we just finished literally the Acadience screeners. So I haven't even had a chance to go in and look at the data and have conversations around how we feel about how that first round went. And teachers are still cycling through the data interpretation training. So we haven't gotten that fully implemented enough to have.
So if the ATSI grant, that's what it was, right? You said, is not there next year, though, you're banking on Title II and Title IV to cover that?
No. We would make a decision on if we wanted to keep Acadience, because it was so great, instead of iReady for that group, Right.
But you're not thinking, because at one point you'd mentioned like doing both, and I just wanna make sure, I just wanna make sure that you have enough.
No, I said, do we have to do both? No, we don't. It's over assessment.
Oh, okay.
That's
I
way
got you.
over assessment.
I didn't know if
You
one
do
was
not.
gonna be used for like partial and the other one.
Yeah, like for Acadians, they have math and reading right now. We just have it for reading. We don't have it for math. We need something for math, right? So these are very large conversations that we're gonna
That's
be
fine. I just wanted to make sure that
having.
you had. I wanted to make sure that it was gonna be covered if you needed it covered.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. No, I have my eye on that, and I even last year reduced because they were tacking on like I don't know 7,000 or 8,000 or something for professional development, and we never used it. And teachers have been using the professional development, have been using the platform and things of that nature, and there's no extra time in the day to plan a professional development around these things. And we talk about data using multiple points of data, not just iReady. So I cut that out of it to save a little bit.
So I would say from the middle school perspective, we have definitely shifted this is my 5th year, and in my 5 years, we went from needing to do a reading lesson and a math lesson every week and all iReady all the time, and the kids hated it with every burning bloody passion that they could possibly have in middle school. And I think that as we've shifted to make that not a weekly requirement, the benchmark assessments have come to be more fruitful and more purposeful. The kids take them more, they're looking to see how they improve. They're looking to see what their data shows. They're talking about it with each other, talking about it with their teachers. I hear kids walking down the hall going, hey, how much did you go up in iReady? I went up 12 points. I went up 140. Like, they're talking about the data. So I think when you can get a middle schooler to buy into the data meaning something, I know it's not perfect and it's not tied to the standards, which we really want to do, and we're using that with the modulars, which we started last year, and we're moving ahead with this year more regularly. But I do think there's some value in it. It also gives teachers with the MyPath and with the assessment data, it gives teachers an opportunity to have some mini lessons. So if you look at our schedule where we have the longer class periods on Tuesdays and Thursdays this year, teachers are in all 4 subject areas are breaking out and saying, how can I get my students to be better readers or mathematicians? How can I look at what their deficits currently are so that we can fill those holes and hopefully find that we have stronger readers and writers overall to be more successful as we move on to the high school.
To Sarah's point, iReady is the known commodity right now. Whether it sticks around, Acadians is new. So we've given one benchmark in reading alone. We've also introduced the win time, which is the what I need, which is now in all 5 grades. And so that is very teacher driven. The advantage to iReady is it's not just the benchmark, it's the program that has the pathways that happen throughout there. So it fills in, it has things for the students to do that connects the benchmark. So it has that work that continues throughout. Whether that is replaced by Acadians or something else, even though the line in the budget says iReady, to Sarah's point, whether it's iReady or something else, that amount is the same. So whether it's iReady or something else, I think it's too early to tell. We have grouped the students for WIN using both iReady and Acadians. We're looking at data, both iReady and Acadians, and we have a lot going on. We're having those conversations using both data points. We've also, in 3rd and 4th grade, using more of the SAS modules, and we're looking at all of that. So I think it's yet another tool in our tool belt. So whatever it is, I think that's a fair and usable dollar amount.
Yep.
To at least plan accordingly for next year. So
Because it will have to be something.
Right.
Because that's a lot. It gives all of those platforms give you a lot of information to help group kids and flex in and out the way that they need to when you're looking at data cycles every 6 weeks. It's like
it's a big number, but it's
Yeah.
market rate.
Right.
I would say.
No, I appreciate the update. I mean, again,
Yeah.
when we start with it, it's new, it's innovative. How are kids doing? What are they thinking? Now they're used to it. Is it producing? cost benefit analysis,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So what I'm
absolutely.
hearing is the benefit is still there.
We just have to tweak the way we do some things sometimes to
Perfect,
keep that buy-in coming and, yeah.
awesome. Other questions for curriculum?
I had a question on the social studies. So I see on the slide, and I think I heard you allude to mold in textbooks earlier. Yeah, updating social studies textbooks for middle school and high school. I see in the budget 13.5 to do that. My question is not from a reduction standpoint. Is that enough?
So we got quotes the quotes we got for the LMS textbooks was 4,500. And then the quotes we got for CHS was 9,019.
Is that a class set? It's not one for every kid, is it a class
No,
set?
it's their class sets.
Got it.
And we also have, we have other supplementary materials like Newsella that are used a lot for, and that's a software that are a online publication that is used to. So that's the price for like the tangible
Okay.
textbooks.
So it's just, I was thinking a book per kid, and that seems like a light number, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not, for middle school, it's not like a
Like it's not an
textbook
anthology.
anthology
textbook.
with.
Is it
Going
more
through
consumables? Is that what?
No, it's not a consumable either. It's like civics, economics, like their subject more than like an anthology that has a unit on.
Okay. Thank you.
Other curriculum questions? Hearing none, we can head over into technology.
Good evening, everyone. I've only been on board just about a month and a half, so I've been really scrambling to, try to identify our needs, so I've done the best I can. The most important thing, I think, is identifying the need for a technology plan. So I think probably over the past couple of years or more, there hasn't been a technology plan, and that kind of helps with how we're budgeting and planning, and gives like little transparency too. And a lot of stuff too we would cover would be like infrastructure things, stuff that no one else really sees but the IT people, like hidden away in closets. So that's gonna be one of the goals over the year, to kind of get a technology plan, because we do have a lot of bigger pieces of infrastructure that we're gonna foresee replacement like in the next couple of years. So just for looking at next year, we have servers that need to be replaced that support our virtual infrastructure, our virtual server infrastructure. We have a support extension, which is just a one-year extension for our SAN, which is kind of all our storage for like said servers. We have our Chromebooks that we do every year for grades 5 and 9 to get those devices, those students through kind of their 4 years before they get replaced again. A new introduction, and I don't want to say maybe new, I would say maybe I previously worked in the district from 2015 to early 2000 or 2021. So some of these that I'm introducing are actually tools that we had used previously in the district. We're a very small IT team, so just tools for like imaging laptops and stuff like that, allowing us to take a very dynamic inventory and deploy applications and stuff like that. So we're not going into the classrooms to disrupt. That doesn't mean that we're not going to go and see teachers and help them, but for a lab or for staff, if they need a particular piece of software or something like that, those are things that we can kind of push remotely, and we can really do more as a smaller team. And then obviously the security piece, identifying kind of stuff that's on our network, what should be, what isn't. And then just kind of your typical technology replacement that we see, laptops, projectors, switching, network switching for infrastructure, a lot of like battery backup needs. So in the event of power loss or whatever, it's called a UPS, it kind of sits down. So if power is restored within 5 minutes or so, it saves the servers or switching from having like a hard crash. So that's kinda all I have, but I'm open for any questions anyone might have.
Have you done an inventory and when some of this equipment's supposed to age out?
I'm in an active process of that, so there are things, like, the worst thing for us is to hit kind of like end of hardware life or end of software life, because in the event that something breaks on a server or switch or whatever, where we'd normally be able to get support or replacement for that, now we're on our own, like checking eBay or checking, these other sites where we might be able to get a part to, continue this down the line in lieu of, when that time frame comes and we're replacing and we have support. A lot of support will send a part, same day if we need it, but when we get to end of life for those things, then we're kind of on our own to try to, find it, order it, then wait for it to come in. So, now we're extending like downtime.
So we don't have an existing document that tells us when the sand's gonna be done or when some part of it is.
So
end of life?
previously it did, just in pass down, it didn't seem like there is a document that exists for that. And it's not a requirement, but it's very good practice to kind of have that thing, so I can better balance the budget with some of these like very expensive costs, because some of these pieces of technology are very expensive, so we don't wanna do them obviously the same year, but kind of offset our years for them.
So Martha, we need that, because I do that at work. My IT guy has it out like 5 years, and when we breaks it down by quarter, and it's painful sometimes, but it's necessary.
It was music to my ears when Brendan.
Yeah.
Does the school board still have a technology committee that kind of reviews that plan and keeps up to date and stuff like that? Years ago, there used to be a technology committee that.
It morphed into like a website committee and yeah.
Sounds like you're volunteering, Derek.
No. Sounds like a school board member's job.
Brendan, I have a question. It looks like the major drivers of your proposed increase sits under software. I see that line item up almost 80K.
Mm-hmm.
Can you just like high level walk me through, like there's 20 different items under that?
Yes, I can, so.
I don't, sorry, I don't want, not all of them, but like
Nope.
which ones are new that are contributing to that increase?
Sure, and I think, forgive me, I know default budget last year, so kind of the budget that I had and trying to I think there was a move of building software lines that instead of, like, let's say CHS, LMS, and GMS use a piece of software. Previously, they had kind of like broken it out across the schools, where it's like, I think the thought was we paid one renewal price, so it should be under kind of the district software line. But it's like, the majority, I think, has been, software that's been used, so that's why that might be an increase, but I could definitely say what I've personally added to that line, so.
Yeah, if I look at the school, like I total up those decreases, it's about 20K of a decrease, so that would offset 20 of the 80.
So what do we have? So the sand support renewal, that's only a one year renewal because we're outside of our 5-year original support for that. So that's about 15K that was added.
Okay.
What else do we have? I know a lot of these lines too have gone up. I think Go Guardian might have gone up. That's what teachers use for the classroom management on the Chromebooks.
Hopefully Power School didn't increase their costs.
Well, for next year, I think we cut 1 or 2 things out of Power School that we will no longer need. What I added, Smart Deploy imaging software, that was 8,000. That's for imaging our computer, so however we get them, there's a standard amount of like settings and software and everything like that we control to put on there. We don't wanna just get something from a vendor and then deploy it out into the wild, because you don't know, could be malware, some other kind of backdoors that are already embedded. Lenovo had issues with that a long time ago. PDQ inventory and deploy, that does scanning for our active assets and then helps us deploy software. I added a password management software that's just 200. We have about 180 or 190 passwords that IT manages, just different systems, so it's not like we're looking for something that's gonna save our password. This is kind of like organization-wide, the different systems and plugins and everything have different accounts. What else do we have?
So if there's really about a $60,000 increase by the time you back out the school stuff, 15 is sand storage, 8 is smart deploy, another 2, so that gets us about halfway there, and then the rest of that about 30K increase is likely attributed to just
Another one that was probably an increase from last year, the VMware support. VMware support is just a virtualization software that allows us to virtualize servers. I believe for that this year we were out of support for that, so there was a penalty for renewal. So that's probably another little increase there.
Okay. I think that answers most of my questions. One last question, is the Power School test server, should that be under software or should that be under equipment?
So we are cloud hosted, and I believe that's in the cloud. I mean, it's not necessarily equipment. I think what they do is if there's patching or big changes, they're applied in the test server before we go into production.
So you're paying a subscription for that cloud server access?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Do we have one vendor for hardware, or do we go out to bid every time we need hardware?
There's vendors I know that we've used historically, so it really depends for the need. If it's just hardware, it's like, I know we use CDW, Connection, a couple other other known vendors and stuff like that, so. I'm familiar with going out to try to get the best price, for us and stuff, so.
So, I have a question, the other big driver you have too is equipment replacement. And looking at past years, you're around 45, 43, and now we're up 17,000, I'm just wondering what's driving that? Or what additional is in there that,
For hardware,
equipment replacement,
Basically
738.
Virtual servers, I think, right?
we have virtual servers. I increased the switch replacement and server upgrades because there's hardware at LMS and GMS that was only $1,000 increase just based on trends of how much servers and switching have increased. But those are in the switch that's equipment additional for each of the services line. Are you talking just specifically about?
Just under the equipment replacement, there's actually 3 items that are listed.
Oh, yeah. So, those are staff laptop replacements, so, just continuing to cycle through, what needs to be replacement. I've been seeing a lot of need, for that, and we have devices which are, not Windows 11 compatible, which
Right, but we replace those every year, right?
yes.
So I'm just wondering what's driving the $17,000 increase?
I think it's
The virtual servers, yeah, because we haven't had those
Okay.
for a while, yes.
All right, so just going back to what John David was asking, and I know right now it's like kind of putting you on the spot, but if you can like do a little more digging as far as the software?
Yep.
Because it's still like $30,000 it's not accounted for an increase, it's like,
So I did pull up last year's budget, and you can see, I'm literally, as we're sitting here going line by line, but, some things are going up 500, one of them went up 2,000, so I can pull that, I think you can easily put them side by side and
Yeah.
see what the additions are.
but we're looking at 30,000.
Power School did go up 3,000,
Well, between two, that's 5, right? 5,500 right there.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
between
I
3
think,
lines.
I wonder if we could get like a breakdown of that, just to see like, sand, new, Power School, 10% increase, like just kind of a breakdown.
Yeah, so there was no sand in
Right.
there last year, so that's different.
Right.
Right, and he gave us those, but then there's still like $30,000
Yep,
that we're looking for.
so things like Cami went from 4,650 last time to 5,000. Again, a small $350 increase, but those things add up, so I think just doing a side-by-side of those would probably be the most helpful. We can either get you that data or Brendan can put it together, definitely do that.
Thank you.
Other questions for technology?
Going back to the imaging software, are we using Microsoft Intune or anything for like device management today?
So what we're doing today is they're creating a live stick, which is a USB thing, and putting it in, and then spending all the time our technician and myself plug in and then loading all the apps individually. So it's like if someone has malware on their machine or something, instead of being able to re-image in like 15, 20 minutes, now we're at like an hour.
You're doing, I just wonder if you don't already have Intune, Intune's obviously not cheap either, but I wonder if that's a better investment, because then you can use like autopilot for the deployments, but then you can also remotely manage all laptops too, so if so-and-so has a virus, you can shut it down remotely or.
Right, and I'm familiar with Intune for like, that MDM piece is nice too, because we're not just waiting for it to be on the LAN, if someone's away or at home, being able to kind of patch or, resolve issues and stuff like that, so.
Other questions, technology? Hearing none, we can slide into special services.
Right, I'm always last, I don't know how that ends up.
Well, today you're delivering hopefully good news.
I think it is, I don't know. Anyway, so this is, it's my area, due to the area that kind of drives a huge portion of the budget and a huge amount of increase, and that's not the case this year. So the one area of increase I did want to point out is under GMS software. We contract out with a BCBA, which is a board certified behavior analyst who works with two of our programs down at GMS for students with more intensive needs. He has recommended a program that will cost upwards of around $8,000, which is a large sum of money. But the hope is that by implementing this curriculum, it will eliminate the need to look for more costly out-of-district placements for these students. We want to keep them here, obviously. So we are looking to purchase that software, and he's researched it, he's recommended, he's used it in other schools, and it's been successful. So that is my increase. Notable decreases, kind of everywhere. A lot of it has to do with students that are either anticipated to graduate next year or some moves. So there's a decrease in professional services, just the number of students requiring those contracted services has gone down. Out-of-district tuition anticipated to be down close to $250,000, just again due to a move and a couple of graduations. And again, I can't get into anything specific because these are student-specific items. I'm trying to be as vague as possible. And then the same thing with transportation. There's a couple of changes to enrollment in our out-of-district placement, again with a move and a couple of graduations, so that's also anticipated to be down close to $50,000. So my proposed decreases are 300, it should be 340 something, sorry.
350.
Oh, 351, sorry, just now. $351,046. I will say too that Annie and I, Annie's my executive assistant, we sat and really looked through this budget. We based a lot of stuff on what was spent last year. We got rid of a lot of old lines that were put in at some point and just never got taken out for some reason. It was to purchase a one-time item, and for some reason it just stayed there. So we got rid of a lot of those. So I feel like we cleaned up a lot of the lines and made it a lot more accurate of what we actually spend and what we actually need.
Questions for special services?
Yeah, the first question I have is, I think it's on the first page,
Sure.
800, other.
Yeah, so that was a line decrease. That was a decrease last year by, I can't remember if it was the school board or the budget committee. It was a bottom line decrease of 51,800. So was just putting it back in.
What's it for?
It's just a bottom line
It's just
cut,
a bottom line
so we
cut.
have to reset at zero.
So you're putting it back in?
We're resetting
We're
the line
resetting
to
it.
zero.
The line is zero, yeah.
Right,
I see,
right,
I see. It
So I'm not
shows you-
asking for $51,000.
I got it.
It's reset back to zero.
But it shows a $51,000 increase.
Because it was
It was
cut by
negative.
$51,000.
It was listed as a negative, yeah.
I mean, just my personal thing real quick. I hate bottom line cuts, like of this nature, because they become really difficult to weave in and out of like what you're actually cutting. I don't think it's effective budgeting. If you're gonna make significant cuts, which has to happen time to time, you should target specific things.
But when you do a bottom line cut, then you go back and you look at, and you take it from different areas, right?
You don't, though, that's the thing, you're just assuming that that particular area, like, this isn't assigned to anyone, this $51,000, right? Now, could you say we took it from staffing? Sure. Could you say we took it from a combination of lines? Sure. But you're not 100% sure of what you're taking it from. So like, from someone who's doing the budgeting, it's just a frustration of mine. And, you know, I think it's maybe like anything, you're brought up different ways, like how I was brought up to like budget in the school budgeting world, is to not do bottom line cuts, is to do specific targeted things, like.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I think it does though, like, so in reality, it's a $300,000 decrease instead of $350.
No, in reality, it's like 400 something, right?
It's the other way.
It's the other
It's
way.
the other way.
Because you're adding 51.8 back in.
You are adding it back in, yeah. But, yeah.
Brian, you said first question, so.
Well,
I'm assuming that means
it's first line.
more.
No, I'll give someone else the floor.
Yeah.
Where does our special ed trust fund set? Do we know?
It's good.
It's good?
Yeah, we put some money in it at the end of last year, it was one of the warrant articles in March. We had, without getting into specifics, kind of a lot of movement in our out-of-district line last year. Now that kind of balanced itself out when it was all said and done, but we certainly didn't end the year with the same kids we started with that were in that kind of position. Again, it ended up being a wash, but there was various times as the year was unfolding last year, we were really nervous on where that was
I
going.
remember that, yeah.
Um,
You feel like you're in a good spot even with these reductions?
I think that's why putting that money in that reserve fund is key, right? Like, we can absorb, you know, a sudden out-of-district placement, in a much better place now than we could have a year ago.
The fund is currently at 370,000,
That
the reserve.
ballpark to cover 2 move-ins?
Say 1.5.
Yeah.
For your most severe kind of
Yeah.
situation.
Other questions?
Is the out-of-district drop temporary, you think? I've honestly never seen it go down before, so I'm kind of surprised. So is it, are we in for a surprise?
There's always, I mean, listen, there's always surprise that the
Did
movements
you
we had
not
last
think
year
when
were,
you said that?
were surprises, and it's so hard, without a district, 'cause you just never know, like the 2 movements we had last year, were both already placed out of district by their previous districts. So I can't promise you anything, I wish I could. I can tell you the ones anticipated to graduate are on the path to graduating, so it's not like, you know, the last minute, we're like, oh, you know, never mind. So it's, as of right this second, it's how I anticipate next year to look like.
I think our staff has done an excellent job in this program to really work with the students and try to not go down that road. And I think that's true at all 3 schools, and they've just worked their tails off to ensure that we haven't had to have that, to head that way.
I think the other thing we're seeing is that by funding a trust fund appropriately, we can be more conservative in our budgeting, because last year we were concerned, right? Because, I mean, these could be massive swings, and people always attack, well, you're special ed, you're coming in way under budget, but, you know, if the opposite happens, it's gonna be a nightmare, right? So if we continue to fund reserve accounts appropriately, we're gonna continue to be able to budget conservatively.
Other questions? Hearing none, but I don't want, are there questions overall?
I have one more, I guess. Considering how much out of district came down, I'm surprised transportation didn't come down more as well.
So we have the same, we use the same company that, you know, that we use for, regular transportation, there's still a 6.5% increase, that's being added onto it, so.
I've shared that contract in the shared file. for
Decrease
everyone,
plus
the health
increase.
contract.
Decrease plus increase, yeah.
Any other questions?
Just to follow up on a couple of things, we've been adding things to the drive as we can. Julie, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this, but we added some of those transportation requests from last time with co-curriculars and athletics. I think there was a question about uniform replacement cycles. That has, I believe, has been added there as well. There was a question about, I guess, organizational charts and class sizes, something along those names. I think that actually came in via email. We're finalizing that. Renee worked on that today. We expect that to be in the folder tomorrow during the workday at some point, once we're all done with that, making sure we're just trying to get it on one document. And it's readable. It's a lot of information, making sure someone can understand it if they're just looking at it. And I think that was hitting all the information that came up from last time. So again, at the beginning of this, we have those kind of links to those Excel, Google Sheets. If you have any questions, feel free, and we'll get the information and kind of add it into the drive when we can.
Can I say something to the class size list? Because I think it's important.
I don't know. What are you gonna say?
So, I think it's important to look at, I know that numbers are a big thing when you're working in industry and looking at the numbers that are in classes, it's important. But I think when you're looking at students in classrooms, I think it's important to consider the offerings that we are able to offer as a very small district to our students. So, you might see some class sizes that appear smaller in a short-term component, but it's a question of needing enough spaces to have our students the ability to have a variety of courses. Otherwise, they're stuck in a very small number of options for unified, specifically I'm speaking to unified arts. I just wanna throw in a plug that they're there for a reason and we need them.
Where's the class size listed? Already in there?
It's not in there. We
Okay.
already finished it. We're working on it today.
It's a lot.
Like 90%. Just a little bit more to get it. Honestly, I didn't have a chance to look at it. So I just want to look at it before I give it to all of you.
I also separated and did some, because I love data, if you don't know me, now you know. I sorted some by content area, so I think it was important to also see like what is the average class size in our math classes. Because when you add up all the classes, some of which are smaller, and I also took out some anomalies that deal with special education services that we're legally obligated to provide. I took out study halls and things like that. So you kind of will get a picture when you look at the numbers of what each department, what each content area has for class sizes, which is a different average than, when you throw all the numbers together and all the teachers and all the classes, it does skew the data and make it different. So I thought that was important to see like what the different content areas, and you can see each class.
In our data, you'll see that it's the number of students that teacher sees in a year, so, and it's relative based on whether they have a year course, a semester course, or a quarter course, because those do have an impact on the number of overall students they see in a year.
And I only did this first semester because I can't even tell, like, we have add drop stuff and it just gets complex when I try to pretend I know like that all the my numbers will stay the same, because they won't. So.
Have we, it's a pet peeve of mine, I guess, but like, I know scheduling is very, very hard, especially at the high school with different singletons and stuff like that, but have we looked at better ways to do it? Because my kids have never, ever gotten the classes they've wanted.
You just teed up Miss Mitchelson already.
I know, like going to my son's
clear
senior
out
year,
right now.
he wanted to take, well, he had to take like pre-calc, honors pre-calc, he wanted to take AP Computer Science, he wanted to take AP Spanish 5, and they were all offered at the exact same period, so he couldn't, he had to take pre-calc in order for college and stuff like that, so it's
Yep.
frustrating.
It is. So one of the things I did at my previous district before I left, and I asked to make sure I wasn't completely crazy, little crazy, but not completely. I said, has anyone ever built their schedule by hand? And I thought I was gonna get that look, but actually I had people raise their hands, be like, we do.
Mhm.
So I will be building it by hand, because I love computers and technology, and I think they have their place, but I know, and even in talking with like we know the different kids and the different pathways that they all take better than a computer does.
Mhm.
So I know that I have a handful of kids who go to CTE in the morning, who also wanna take AP Calc, who also might be in band, who also, like, I'm gonna know those kids, and I will test it. I will pull out, okay, give me a band kid, give me an AP kid, give me 20 of our students who have different pathways that they're doing, and let me run through and see if it will work. Now, will it be perfect?
No.
They'll still be, but hopefully far fewer. So that's the plan, to kinda get a head start on it. I kinda like it, it's putting a puzzle together, it's patterns and math and stuff like that. So I enjoy it, and it worked. I asked my former colleagues in my previous school, I said, hey, just for curiosity, how's the schedule working this year? They have very few issues with it, so.
Better
That's
late
my
than never,
plan.
right there?
Huh?
Better late than never.
It's too late for me.
It'll naturally help with the class numbers too, and so you'll see better distribution instead of, like, there's gonna be some lopsided classes, like, why do you have a class of 29 kids, and then that very same class, there's a class of 14? So clearly you understand why we have to have two sections of it,
Yeah.
but why does one have 14 and one has 29? Well, chances are one is happening during one time of the day, that's not great for a handful of other kids, so they have to take it at a different time.
Any other questions for tonight, for budget? Alright, so just for awareness, our next meeting, there's a budget committee meeting tomorrow night, at 7:00. I will be attending for Mr. Cutter. And then our school board meeting is next Wednesday, where I think the school board will be addressing whatever changes, additions, revisions, amendments that it wants to make to the budget. And so that's where we stand. If there's nothing else for tonight, I'll entertain the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? We are done for tonight. Thank you very much.
Sean, are you gonna get us out? Should we 8:15 tomorrow?
Good luck.
Good
Good luck.
Who do you want there tomorrow?
So,